I think I'm going back to my ex. He's rich now, she announced. I stared at Isabella's Instagram story for a full minute, watching her pose next to some guy's Lamborghini with that caption overlaid in gold text. 2 years together, and this is how I found out our relationship was over. I was sitting in my downtown Seattle office, reviewing client portfolios as a financial advisor, when my phone lit up with notifications from friends forwarding her post. The photos showed Isabella laughing with Marcus, her college boyfriend, outside what looked like a penthouse apartment, both of them draped in designer clothes I'd never seen her wear. She'd claimed she was having a goodbye dinner with friends tonight to process some personal stuff, but apparently she'd been planning this dramatic exit for who knows how long. I took a screenshot of every story frame, then calmly commented on her post, "Congratulations. Hope you find what you're looking for." Within minutes, my phone was buzzing with her calls, but I was already moving into damage control mode. I spent the next 3 hours systematically removing her access to everything shared between us: Netflix password, apartment building access code, my credit cards she'd used for her photography equipment, even the shared Google Drive where she stored her client files. I transferred our joint savings account balance to my personal account, called a locksmith to change the locks on my Capitol Hill apartment, and started documenting every shared asset. When Isabella finally came home around midnight, expecting to find me devastated and begging for explanations, she discovered her camera gear neatly packed in archival boxes by the garage door along with her clothes, makeup, and that expensive ring light I'd bought her for Christmas. "Connor, we need to talk," she said, standing in my doorway like she still lived there, designer purse slung over her shoulder that definitely hadn't been in her closet this morning. "I saw your post." Message received loud and clear. "You don't understand. Marcus has changed. He's successful now, and he wants to help me grow my photography business. This could be the opportunity I've been waiting for." I'd been supporting her struggling photography career for the past 18 months while she booked maybe one paying gig per month, mostly senior portraits and family Christmas cards. "That's great, Isabella. I'm genuinely happy for you." The confused look on her face told me she'd expected tears, arguments, maybe even a counteroffer to compete with Marcus's apparent wealth. Instead, I was treating this like any other business transaction: clean, professional, final. "But Connor, I thought you'd fight for us. Don't you care about what we built together?" "What we built? I built financial stability while you built Instagram stories. Now you've found someone who can fund bigger productions." I gestured toward her packed belongings. "Your equipment's all there, including the $3,200 lens I financed for your birthday." Her face flushed as she realized I was keeping precise track of every financial contribution I'd made to her career. My phone had been buzzing all evening with messages from Derek, my colleague at the investment firm, but I'd been too busy securing my assets to check them. When I finally read his texts around 1 a.m., after Isabella had stormed out to stay with her sister Carmen, everything started making sense. "Dude, that Marcus guy your ex posted about? I've been tracking some weird financial activity connected to him through our compliance monitoring. We need to talk tomorrow." Derek's message included a screenshot of Marcus flashing cash at some high-end restaurant downtown, the same photo Isabella had reposted to her story with heart-eye emojis and captions about manifesting abundance. I'd always prided myself on spotting financial red flags in my professional life, identifying clients who were over-leveraged or investment opportunities that seemed too good to be true. But apparently I'd missed some major warning signs in my personal life. Isabella had been receiving mysterious payments for photography work over the past few months, gigs she claimed were confidential corporate shoots that required NDAs and paid unusually well for someone with her limited commercial experience. I'd thought it was suspicious that someone struggling to book family portraits was suddenly getting paid thousands for work she couldn't discuss or show in her portfolio, but I trusted her explanations about finally networking with the right people. Now, looking at Derek's concerns about Marcus and remembering Isabella's recent expensive purchases, the designer boots she'd attributed to her newfound success, the professional makeup she claimed was a business investment, I was beginning to piece together a much more complicated picture than a simple case of my girlfriend trading up for a richer boyfriend. Derek pulled me into the conference room first thing Monday morning, his laptop already open to spreadsheets that looked like something from a federal investigation. I'd worked with Derek for 3 years at Meridian Financial, and I'd never seen him this focused on anything outside of quarterly earnings reports. "Connor, I need you to look at this pattern analysis I've been running on cryptocurrency transactions. Your ex's new boyfriend is all over our compliance monitoring system." He turned the screen toward me, showing a web of transactions that looked like a textbook money laundering operation. Marcus Chen, that's his real name, by the way, has been moving massive amounts of crypto through fake art sales and shell companies. The amounts are staggering. We're talking about $2.3 million in the past 6 months alone. I studied the data, my stomach sinking as I recognized some of the company names. "Derek, these shell companies?" Isabella mentioned doing photography work for several of these businesses. Pacific Northwest Arts Collective, Emerald City Digital Media, Northwest Creative Solutions. Bingo! Those aren't real companies, Connor. They're just bank accounts that Marcus uses to wash dirty money. Your ex has been serving as his unwitting front person, creating invoices for photography services that never actually happened. Derek clicked through more screens, showing payment records that made my blood run cold. "Look at these amounts: $8,000 for a corporate headshot session, $12,000 for commercial property photography, $15,000 for an executive portfolio shoot. No photographer charges those rates for basic work, especially not someone with Isabella's limited commercial experience." The timeline was damning. Isabella's mysterious high-paying gigs had started exactly 3 months after she'd reconnected with Marcus at some college reunion event she'd attended without me. I'd thought it was weird that she'd suddenly become secretive about her work, claiming client confidentiality when I'd asked to see her latest projects. "There's more," Derek continued, pulling up Isabella's business banking records that our firm had access to through her small business loan application. "She's been receiving payments, then immediately transferring 60% of each amount to an account registered to Marcus's primary shell company. She's essentially laundering money and doesn't even realize it." I felt sick thinking about how excited Isabella had been about her breakthrough in commercial photography, how she'd attributed her success to finally networking with the right people and developing a more professional portfolio. "The cryptocurrency angle is what really caught our attention," Derek explained, opening another file. "Marcus claims to be some kind of crypto investment guru, but his trading patterns don't match someone who actually understands the market. He's receiving large deposits from unknown sources, immediately converting to cryptocurrency, then moving everything offshore through exchanges that don't require proper documentation. Classic money laundering, just using digital currency instead of traditional banking." "So where's the original money coming from?" That's what makes this really ugly. We think Marcus is running a Ponzi scheme, convincing people to invest in his cryptocurrency portfolio management service, then using Isabella's photography business as a way to make his lifestyle look legitimate. When potential investors see him with a successful photographer girlfriend who's booking high-end commercial work, it adds credibility to his claims about being financially successful. Derek showed me social media posts where Isabella had tagged Marcus in photos from expensive restaurants and events, always mentioning how grateful she was for his business advice and networking connections. Without realizing it, she'd been helping him recruit new victims by presenting this image of a successful power couple who understood how to build wealth together. "Connor, there's something else you need to know. The federal authorities are already investigating Marcus. They contacted our compliance department last week asking about any connections between our clients and his shell companies. When your name came up as Isabella's domestic partner on her loan application, they flagged you for potential involvement." My hands went cold. I had nothing to do with any of this. I know that, and the evidence supports it. But Isabella's in serious legal jeopardy here. She's been creating fraudulent invoices, accepting payments for services that don't exist, and helping move money through accounts designed to hide criminal activity. Even if she didn't know what Marcus was really doing, ignorance isn't necessarily a legal defense when you're actively participating in financial crimes. The irony was crushing. Isabella had left me for someone she thought could provide the financial security and luxury lifestyle I supposedly couldn't offer. Instead, she'd gotten involved with a criminal who was using her business as a front for money laundering while she unknowingly helped him scam other people out of their savings. Thursday afternoon, I was reviewing investment portfolios when my phone buzzed with a text from Isabella's sister Carmen. "We need to talk. Meet us at Victrola on Capitol Hill at 6 p.m. This is important." I almost ignored it, but something about the tone made me curious enough to show up. Isabella was there with both Carmen and their mother Patricia, all three of them looking like they'd coordinated this intervention down to their matching serious expressions. "Connor, sit down," Patricia said in that voice she used when she thought she was being authoritative. "We need to discuss your vindictive behavior toward Isabella during what should be an exciting time in her career." I ordered a black coffee and waited for whatever rehearsed speech they'd prepared. Isabella looked uncomfortable, fidgeting with her phone and avoiding direct eye contact. "Isabella has an incredible opportunity with Marcus," Carmen continued. "He's offering to set up a professional photography studio for her, with real commercial clients and steady income. But you're trying to sabotage her success because you can't handle her moving on." "I'm not sabotaging anything. I wished her well and helped her pack her equipment." "You changed the locks." Isabella finally spoke up. "You froze our joint accounts. You're being petty and controlling just because I found someone who can actually support my dreams." I sipped my coffee, studying their faces. "Tell me more about this photography studio Marcus is setting up for you." Isabella's expression brightened immediately. "It's going to be amazing. He's found this perfect space in Fremont, and he's going to help me get all the permits and business licenses. Plus, he has connections with these high-end corporate clients who need regular photography work. I could be making 6 figures within a year." "What kind of corporate clients?" "Well, he can't give me all the details yet because of confidentiality agreements, but they're mostly financial services companies and real estate investment groups. They need professional photos for their marketing materials and executive portfolios." I kept my voice casual, almost bored. "And Marcus is paying for all this startup costs himself?" "He's investing in our future together," Patricia interjected. "That's what real men do when they see potential in a woman. They don't hold her back with small-minded thinking." "Isabella, can you explain how the financial arrangement works? Does Marcus expect a percentage of your profits from the studio?" Isabella glanced at her mother, then back at me. "Well, yes, obviously he'd get a return on his investment. He's putting up probably $80,000 for equipment and the first year's rent, so he'd get 40% of the profits until that's paid back, plus another 20% ongoing since he's bringing in the clients." I nearly choked on my coffee. "So Marcus gets 60% of your earnings, and you do 100% of the work?" "It's not like that," Isabella said quickly. "He's handling all the business development and client relationships. Plus, he's teaching me about cryptocurrency investing so I can build real wealth instead of just living paycheck to paycheck like." She stopped herself, but we all knew she was about to say, "like with you." "Isabella," I said carefully, "has Marcus explained exactly how these corporate clients found out about your photography work? What made them specifically request your services?" "He has a whole network of business contacts from his investment work. When they need professional photography, he recommends me because he knows my artistic vision and work ethic." Carmen was nodding along like this made perfect sense, but I caught something in Isabella's tone that suggested she wasn't entirely convinced by her own explanation. "And these clients, they pay up front for photography packages. Marcus handles all the invoicing and payments," Isabella said. "That way I can focus on the creative work instead of dealing with boring administrative stuff. He transfers my share to my business account after he processes their payments." I pulled out my phone and opened the voice recording app, keeping it hidden under the table. "Isabella, walk me through a typical photography job. Like, from when you first meet the client to when you deliver the final images." "Well, I don't actually meet most of the clients directly. Marcus schedules everything and gives me the shot lists. Then I go to the locations, usually office buildings or corporate spaces, and take the photos they requested. Sometimes there aren't even people there, just empty offices or conference rooms." "And you deliver the images to Marcus, who gives them to the clients?" "Exactly." It's much more efficient that way, and it maintains professional boundaries. Patricia was beaming proudly, but Carmen was starting to look thoughtful in a way that suggested she was actually processing what Isabella had just described. Isabella, have you ever seen the final images that Marcus delivers to these clients? Or received feedback about your work from the actual companies? Marcus handles all the client communication, Isabella repeated, but her confidence was wavering. He says they're very happy with my work, though. That's why they keep requesting more sessions. I leaned back in my chair, watching Isabella realize in real time that she'd never actually confirmed her photography work was being used for its stated purpose. So you take pictures of empty offices, give them to Marcus, and he pays you thousands of dollars. And you've never wondered why these corporate clients need so many photos of empty conference rooms. 2 weeks later, Isabella and Marcus were living it up all over Seattle's social media scene, and I had a front row seat to the spectacle through mutual friends' Instagram stories. Marcus had rented a white Maserati for some charity gala at the Four Seasons, where Isabella posed in a $4,000 dress she claimed was an early birthday gift. They hit every high-end spot in the city: El Gaucho, Canlis, the exclusive rooftop bar at Thompson, Seattle, always with Isabella documenting their empire-building journey for her growing social media following. I was having lunch with Derek when he showed me the latest compliance alerts from our monitoring system. Connor, Marcus's spending pattern is getting more desperate. He's burning through cash faster than he's bringing it in, which usually means a Ponzi scheme is about to collapse. Derek pulled up banking records that showed Marcus's accounts receiving large deposits, then immediately transferring funds to pay for lifestyle expenses instead of legitimate investments. Look at this $45,000 deposit on Monday, and by Friday it's gone to luxury car rentals, hotel suites, jewelry stores, and high-end restaurants. He's not investing anyone's money, he's just spending it to maintain this illusion of wealth. The most telling incident happened at a wine tasting event in Bellevue that weekend. I heard about it through my friend Jake, who worked in commercial real estate and had been at the same event. Dude, your ex's new boyfriend had the most embarrassing meltdown I've ever witnessed, Jake told me over drinks. They were at this exclusive wine tasting, probably $200 per person, and Marcus was holding court with a group of potential investors, talking about his cryptocurrency portfolio and international business ventures. According to Jake, Marcus had been explaining his investment strategy to a table of wealthy retirees, promising 40% returns through his proprietary crypto trading algorithms, while Isabella nodded along supportively, occasionally mentioning how their photography business partnership was booming. Then comes time to pay the bill, and Marcus's black card gets declined. Not just once, 3 times with 3 different cards. The guy went white as a sheet, started sweating, making excuses about bank holds and international transfer delays. Isabella had tried to cover for him by pulling out her own card, but Jake said it was obvious she was mortified. She kept whispering to him, asking what was wrong, and he just kept insisting it was a banking error. But then one of the older investors, this retired Microsoft exec, started asking detailed questions about Marcus's trading platform and regulatory compliance. What kind of questions? Smart ones. Like which cryptocurrency exchanges he was using, whether he was registered with the SEC, how he was managing risk in such a volatile market. Marcus couldn't answer any of them coherently. He kept giving these vague responses about proprietary technology and exclusive partnerships that sounded like complete nonsense to anyone who actually understood finance. Jake said the evening ended with Marcus and Isabella rushing out while the other attendees exchanged skeptical looks and started pulling up information about Marcus on their phones. I felt bad for Isabella, honestly. She looked genuinely confused about why her successful boyfriend suddenly couldn't pay for dinner or explain how his business actually worked. But the real damage was happening online. I'd started monitoring Isabella's social media more carefully, not out of jealousy but because Derek had asked me to document any evidence of Marcus's fraudulent lifestyle for the federal investigation. Isabella's posts were inadvertently creating a perfect timeline of Marcus's escalating desperation. Her captions went from building wealth with my amazing partner, to sometimes success comes with challenges, to learning that real wealth is about more than money. The comments on her posts were becoming increasingly suspicious, too. People were asking pointed questions about Marcus's business, requesting information about investment opportunities, and sharing their own experiences with cryptocurrency scams. One comment thread particularly caught my attention. A woman named Rebecca had written, "Is this the same Marcus Chin who ran that crypto investment group in Portland last year? He owes my husband $50,000 from some blockchain project that never materialized." Isabella had responded defensively, claiming it must be a different Marcus Chin, but more comments started appearing from other people who recognized him from previous failed ventures. "Your boyfriend promised my retirement club 50% returns on Bitcoin mining investments," wrote another commenter. "We haven't heard from him in 8 months, and our money is gone." I screenshot every comment thread and forwarded them to Derek, who was building a comprehensive case file for federal investigators. "Connor, this is exactly what we needed," Derek said after reviewing the social media evidence. "Marcus has been running the same scam in different cities for at least 3 years. Isabella's Instagram posts are connecting us to victims across multiple states." The pattern was becoming clear. Marcus would target someone with a legitimate business or professional reputation, use them as a front to establish credibility, then disappear when the scheme collapsed, leaving his unwitting partner to face the legal consequences while he moved on to the next city and the next victim. 3 months into Isabella's new life with Marcus, I got a call that changed everything. "Mr. Anderson, this is Special Agent Sarah Mitchell with the FBI's Financial Crimes Division. We need to discuss some suspicious transactions connected to Isabella Rodriguez's photography business that may have involved your personal accounts." I'd been expecting this call ever since Derek had warned me about the federal investigation, but hearing it still made my stomach drop. Agent Mitchell explained that they'd been tracking Marcus's money laundering operation across multiple states and had flagged Isabella's business accounts after discovering a pattern of fraudulent invoices and shell company transactions. "We understand you were in a domestic partnership with Ms. Rodriguez until recently. We'd like to schedule an interview to discuss any knowledge you might have about her business operations or relationship with Marcus Chin." I met with Agent Mitchell and her partner Agent Rodriguez at the FBI field office downtown, bringing every document Derek and I had compiled about Marcus's financial activities. "Mr. Anderson, we appreciate your cooperation in this investigation," Agent Mitchell said, reviewing my evidence. "Your documentation has been extremely helpful in establishing the scope of Mr. Chen's criminal enterprise." They showed me a wall chart mapping out Marcus's network of shell companies, fake cryptocurrency platforms, and the dozens of victims who'd lost money to his schemes. Isabella's photography business was right in the center, with lines connecting her bank accounts to every major transaction in Marcus's operation. The concerning development is that Ms. Rodriguez has recently launched a YouTube channel promoting Mr. Chen's investment opportunities, Agent Rodriguez explained, showing me Isabella's latest videos on his laptop. She's potentially helping him recruit new victims on a much larger scale. I watched in horror as Isabella, wearing designer clothes and sitting in what looked like Marcus's rented penthouse, explained to her 15,000 subscribers how they'd built wealth through smart cryptocurrency investments and strategic business partnerships. She was promoting Marcus's new venture, something called Pacific Wealth Management, which promised exclusive access to his proprietary trading algorithms for a minimum investment of $10,000. "Marcus has taught me so much about building real financial security," Isabella said in the video, her engagement ring catching the light as she gestured enthusiastically. "We're only accepting 50 investors for this exclusive opportunity, so if you're serious about changing your financial future, don't wait." The comments section was filled with people asking for more information, sharing their contact details, and praising Isabella for being transparent about her success story. Several commenters mentioned they'd already sent money to Marcus's investment platform based on Isabella's recommendation. "Mr. Anderson, we estimate that Ms. Rodriguez's YouTube content has helped Mr. Chin collect over $800,000 in new investments in just the past month," Agent Mitchell said grimly. Many of these are elderly victims who trusted her testimony about his business legitimacy. But the comments also revealed something else. People who recognized Marcus from his previous scams were trying to warn Isabella's subscribers. "This guy took $30,000 from my retirement savings in Phoenix 2 years ago," wrote one user. "Same promises, same cryptocurrency story. Don't give him your money." "Marcus Chen scammed my investment group in Denver," commented another. "He disappeared with $200,000 and left us with worthless promises about blockchain technology." Isabella had been responding to these warnings defensively, claiming they were cases of mistaken identity or attacks from jealous competitors. But the evidence was mounting quickly, and her subscriber comments were becoming a database of Marcus's victims from across the country. The challenge is that Ms. Rodriguez appears to genuinely believe in Mr. Chen's business model, Agent Rodriguez explained. "She's not intentionally defrauding people, but her public endorsement is giving him credibility with potential victims who might otherwise be more skeptical." Agent Mitchell pulled up more recent videos where Isabella discussed their plans to expand internationally, maybe opening photography studios in Vancouver and Los Angeles, all funded by Marcus's successful investment portfolio. She was unknowingly describing a money laundering operation to thousands of people while presenting it as an inspiring entrepreneurship story. "We need to move quickly," Agent Mitchell said. "Our intelligence suggests Mr. Chen is planning to disappear within the next few weeks, probably once he realizes how much law enforcement attention his operation is attracting. When he runs, Ms. Rodriguez will be left holding responsibility for all the fraudulent transactions that went through her business accounts." I asked what would happen to Isabella when they arrested Marcus. "That depends on her level of cooperation and whether she's willing to provide evidence about his criminal activities," Agent Rodriguez said. "If she continues promoting his schemes or tries to cover for him, she could face serious federal charges for money laundering and wire fraud. But if she helps us build the case against him, we might be able to work out a cooperation agreement." They wanted me to reach out to Isabella, to warn her about what was coming and encourage her to cooperate with the investigation before it was too late. "Mr. Anderson, you might be the only person she trusts enough to listen to right now," Agent Mitchell said. "Her family appears to be financially invested in Mr. Chen's success, and her social media content suggests she's completely committed to his version of reality." I left the FBI office with a complicated decision to make. I could stay out of Isabella's drama completely and let her face the consequences of her choices, or I could try to save her from a federal prosecution that would destroy her life. After everything she'd put me through, warning her felt like saving someone who was determined to drown. I decided to warn Isabella, but before I could reach out, she and her mother Patricia went on the offensive. Monday morning, I got called into my supervisor's office at Meridian Financial, where Patricia was sitting with our HR director, looking like she was about to deliver a formal presentation. "Connor, Mrs. Rodriguez has some serious allegations about your conduct toward her daughter," my supervisor Mark said, his expression neutral but concerned. Patricia had prepared a whole folder of printed screenshots from my social media, banking records showing when I'd transferred our joint savings, and a written statement accusing me of financial stalking and harassment. "Connor has been using his position at this investment firm to monitor Isabella's private financial information," Patricia announced. "He's been tracking her business transactions, sharing her personal banking details with coworkers, and trying to sabotage her new relationship out of jealousy." I sat there listening to Patricia describe me as some kind of obsessive ex-boyfriend who was abusing my professional access to spy on Isabella's finances. She claimed I'd been spreading rumors about Marcus being involved in criminal activity, trying to turn people against Isabella's successful new partnership. "Mrs. Rodriguez, can you provide specific examples of Mr. Anderson sharing your daughter's private information inappropriately?" our HR director asked. Patricia pulled out bank statements and transaction records that she claimed proved I'd been accessing Isabella's accounts without permission. He knew exactly how much money Isabella was making from her photography business and when she received payments from clients. He's been using that information to harass her and try to damage her reputation. "Patricia," I said calmly, "those are transactions from our joint savings account and credit cards that Isabella was authorized to use while we were together. I haven't accessed any of her private accounts since our breakup." But Patricia wasn't finished. She claimed I'd been contacting Isabella's business associates, trying to interfere with her professional relationships, and spreading false information about Marcus to damage their investment opportunities. Isabella has built a successful photography business and found someone who supports her dreams, Patricia continued. Connor can't handle her success, so he's trying to destroy everything she's worked for. The irony was incredible. Patricia was accusing me of exactly the kind of financial surveillance that Marcus was using to exploit Isabella, while simultaneously demanding that my employer investigate me for cooperating with a federal money laundering investigation. Mrs. Rodriguez, has your daughter filed a police report about this alleged stalking behavior? Mark asked. Patricia hesitated. Well, no, because Isabella is too kind-hearted to get Connor in legal trouble. She just wants him to stop interfering with her life and move on. That's when I realized Patricia might have more at stake in defending Marcus than just protecting her daughter's happiness. Patricia, have you personally invested any money with Marcus's cryptocurrency platform? Patricia's face went red. That's completely irrelevant to this meeting. We're here to discuss Connor's inappropriate behavior, not my personal financial decisions. But Mark was now paying very close attention. Mrs. Rodriguez, if you've invested money with the individual you're asking us to stop investigating, that creates a significant conflict of interest in your complaint. I invested my retirement savings based on Isabella's recommendation, Patricia finally admitted. Marcus has been managing my portfolio for the past 2 months, and I've already seen substantial returns on my investment. I almost felt sorry for her. Patricia had probably put her entire retirement fund into Marcus's Ponzi scheme and was now desperately trying to protect her investment by silencing anyone who questioned his legitimacy. Mrs. Rodriguez, what kind of returns has Marcus promised you on your retirement investment? Mark asked. 40% annually, guaranteed. He has exclusive access to cryptocurrency trading algorithms that most investors can't access. Mark exchanged a look with our HR director that told me they both recognized the classic warning signs of investment fraud. Connor, can you explain your role in any investigation of Marcus Chen's financial activities? I gave them the complete explanation about Derek's compliance monitoring, the federal investigation, and my cooperation with FBI agents who were building a criminal case against Marcus. I showed them Agent Mitchell's contact information and offered to have her verify everything I'd told them. Mrs. Rodriguez, I think you need to contact the FBI immediately about your investment with Mr. Chen, Mark said. Based on what Mr. Anderson has described, you may be the victim of a federal crime. Patricia's confident demeanor crumbled instantly. But Marcus showed me documentation of all his successful trades. He's been sending me monthly reports showing how much my portfolio has grown. Patricia, those reports are probably fabricated, I said as gently as possible. Marcus has been running the same scam in multiple cities. The FBI has evidence that he's not actually investing anyone's money, he's just using new investments to pay fake returns to earlier victims while funding his expensive lifestyle. Patricia started crying, the reality of her situation finally sinking in. Her retirement savings were gone, her daughter was unknowingly helping a criminal recruit more victims, and she just tried to get me fired for cooperating with the federal agents who might be her only chance of recovering any of her money. Mr. Anderson, I think you should contact Agent Mitchell and arrange for Mrs. Rodriguez to speak with the FBI about her investment, Mark said. And Connor, I want to commend you for your ethical handling of this situation. Your cooperation with federal investigators reflects well on our firm's commitment to financial transparency. As we left the meeting, Patricia grabbed my arm in the hallway. Connor, please don't tell Isabella that I invested with Marcus. She doesn't know I put my retirement savings into his platform, and if this all falls apart, I don't want her to blame herself for recommending him. But it was already too late for secrets. The federal investigation was accelerating, and everyone connected to Marcus's operation was about to face the consequences of their involvement, whether they'd known what they were participating in or not. 6 months later, I was reading the Seattle Times over coffee when I saw the headline, "Local man arrested in multi-million-dollar cryptocurrency fraud." Marcus's mugshot stared back at me from the front page of the business section, looking nothing like the confident entrepreneur who'd stolen my girlfriend. The article detailed how federal agents had arrested him at Seattle-Tacoma Airport trying to board a flight to Costa Rica with $200,000 in cash and fake identification documents. Isabella had agreed to cooperate with prosecutors in exchange for immunity from federal charges, providing crucial testimony about Marcus's money laundering operations and the fake photography invoices she'd unknowingly created. According to the article, over 150 victims across 7 states had lost a combined $4.2 million to Marcus's various cryptocurrency investment schemes, with many of them elderly retirees who trusted Isabella's YouTube endorsements. I was finishing the article when my phone rang. "Connor, it's Isabella. I know I have no right to call you, but I wanted to apologize for everything that happened and to thank you for trying to warn me before it was too late." Her voice sounded different, smaller, more genuine than I'd heard in years. "How are you holding up?" I asked, genuinely curious about how someone rebuilds their life after discovering their entire relationship was built on criminal activity. "It's been horrible, honestly. My photography business is completely destroyed. No one wants to hire someone whose name is associated with a federal money laundering case, even though I was a victim too. I'm working at Victrola now, the same coffee shop where my family ambushed you that day." The irony wasn't lost on either of us. I've been going to therapy, trying to understand how I got so caught up in Marcus's lies. My therapist says I was vulnerable to his manipulation because I was desperate to prove I could be successful without depending on someone else financially. "Isabella, you were successful. Your photography work was genuinely good. Marcus just exploited your talent to make his criminal operation look legitimate. I keep thinking about our relationship, about how stable and secure everything was with you. I took that for granted because it wasn't exciting enough, because you didn't promise me impossible things or make me feel like I was living in some fantasy." I could hear her crying softly. My mom lost her entire retirement savings. Carmen had to take out a second mortgage to help pay Mom's rent. Our whole family got destroyed because I believed Marcus's promises about building wealth together. "I'm sorry, Isabella. I really am. No one deserves to get manipulated like that." There was a long pause before she spoke again. "Connor, I know this is completely inappropriate to ask, but are you seeing anyone? Are you happy?" I thought about Sarah, the financial planner I'd started dating 3 months ago. We'd met at a professional networking event, bonded over our shared commitment to ethical investing, and built something real based on mutual respect rather than financial dependency. "I am seeing someone actually. Her name's Sarah, and she's incredible." "Good. I'm glad you found someone who appreciates what an amazing partner you are. I hope she's smart enough not to throw away what you're offering. Isabella, I hope you find what you're looking for too. Real success this time, not the fake kind that requires someone else funding your dreams." After we hung up, I thought about how different my life looked now compared to 6 months ago. Sarah and I had just booked a modest weekend trip to the San Juan Islands, something we'd planned together and split the costs equally. No luxury hotels or rented sports cars, just 2 people who enjoyed each other's company exploring somewhere new. The following week, Sarah and I were having dinner at a quiet restaurant in Fremont when she brought up something that had been on her mind. "Connor, I've been thinking about what you went through with Isabella and Marcus. How do you trust your judgment in relationships after getting so close to something that dangerous?" It was a fair question. I'd spent months wondering how I'd missed the warning signs, how someone I'd lived with for 2 years could get involved in federal crimes without me realizing what was happening. "I think the difference is transparency," I said. "You and I talk about everything, our finances, our goals, our concerns about the future. With Isabella, there were always secrets and explanations that didn't quite make sense, but I ignored my instincts because I wanted to trust her." Sarah nodded thoughtfully. "It's interesting how financial compatibility is really about values compatibility. Isabella wanted shortcuts to success, while you believe in building wealth through consistent effort and smart decisions." "Exactly. And Marcus promised her the shortcut she wanted, even though it was completely fake." "Well, I'm grateful she chose Marcus over you," Sarah said, reaching across the table to take my hand. "Otherwise, you wouldn't have been available when I came along." 6 months later, Sarah and I moved in together, splitting all expenses equally and building a shared savings account for our future together. We bought a modest house in Wallingford with a proper down payment we'd saved together. No shady cryptocurrency investments or money laundering schemes required. Last month, I heard through mutual friends that Isabella had moved back to Portland to start over somewhere her name wasn't associated with federal criminal cases. I genuinely hope she finds happiness and success the right way this time, with someone who values her for who she is rather than what she can provide for their criminal enterprise. Patricia managed to recover about 30% of her retirement savings through the Federal Victim Restitution Program, though she had to postpone her retirement by several years. She sent me a handwritten apology letter for trying to get me fired, admitting that she'd been desperate to protect her investment even when she suspected Marcus might be lying about his returns. Sometimes I drive past that coffee shop in Capitol Hill where Isabella works, and I think about how different both our lives could have been if she'd valued security over excitement, partnership over performance. But then I go home to Sarah, who's usually reading some financial planning journal or researching our next modest vacation, and I realize that Isabella leaving me was the best thing that could have happened to both of us.